So if I had to completely start over and choose a new place within Denver to live, I'm really excited to share this video today, you guys, because I'm going to share with you two neighborhoods that I think are at the top of the list for anybody, but especially coming from somebody like myself, a 42-year Colorado and Denver native. These are areas that aren't really based off of hype or just the flashiest areas in Denver. What it's really about is three things that I think are incredibly important. First off, livability, or more importantly, the lifestyle. Number two, the long-term value for the area. And then last but not least, number three, talking through strategic positioning. More to come on that here in a second, but really excited to share this episode with you guys. You're definitely not going to want to miss this one. So stay tuned for a brand new episode of Living in Denver. Let's go. All right, you guys. Well, as I said, this video is going to be all about, from a Colorado and Denver native, where somebody like myself would choose to live in 2026 if I was starting over from scratch. And this isn't going to be about hype. This isn't going to be about those trendy areas that maybe you've heard a lot in the news. So these are all areas that are, number one, just going to be great for livability or lifestyle. Number two, they're going to be great for long-term value, really strong investment locations. And then last but not least, number three, also talking through how they're really positioned strategically to be in areas that are protected from not having any negative effects to their property values, as well as just having that supply and demand, that benefit of being in an area that's strategically positioned. So with that being said, the first of these two areas that I'm excited to share with you guys is going to be Edgewater. Now, you guys may be familiar with names that are in kind of the area of Edgewater, places like Sloan Lake or West Highland. But basically, Edgewater is just going to be located a little bit to the west or a little bit to the left of that if you're looking at it on a Google map. Now, Edgewater is an area that doesn't get a ton of publicity just because it is a bit smaller in size and scale. However, man, it has a lot going for it, and that's why I chose it as one of the two places that I would definitely pick myself if I was starting over from scratch today here in the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. So, you're looking at it on a map. One of the things I love about this area, again, is the lifestyle. You're looking at it at not just a place that you're going to call home, but also all the stuff that surrounds it that can be really taken advantage of on a daily, if not weekly basis. Walking around Sloan Lake Park used to be one of my favorite things to do when I lived over in the Sloan Lake area in an area called East Bay. That was only about a 5-minute, maybe 10-minute walk from where I lived to get over here to the Edgewater area. But why I wanted to put this one as the first area for you guys also to consider is because it's a little bit earlier in the process of being popular. You know, 20 years ago when I was growing up in Wheat Ridge, which is a little bit actually to the west of Edgewater, but really close in the same area, you know, we used to see the area of Sloan Lake and West Highlands as a kind of just a normal place, you know, kind of older, outdated homes, a lot of 1900s bungalows. And man, over the last 20 years, that area has completely transformed, and Edgewater has those same indications that it's doing the same thing. It's just a little bit behind in the process. So I love that about Edgewater because it is a little bit of a tried and true, proven formula when it comes to getting in a little bit earlier and having that work in your favor in the long run. Being able to buy a property and sit on it and enjoy the appreciation as this area around Edgewater continues to get better and improved and only become more and more popular. So again, we're going to talk through three aspects to each of these two neighborhoods, and the first one being why it's a strategic place to consider buying. So one of the things I love about Edgewater right now is a lot of the housing inventory, the homes that are for sale, they're a little bit on the older side. You'll find more homes in this area that still haven't been renovated. You know, a lot of big savvy investors and real estate developers, they'll already have, for the most part, in the surrounding area of Sloan Lake and Highlands, they've already identified most of the fixer-uppers and already kind of gone through that process. Edgewater, there's still a few more to be found, and I think if you are somebody that's looking for some of that value-added potential, could be a really strong bet. Now, that fixer-upper inventory that, like I said, doesn't really exist as much anymore in Sloan Lake and Highlands, there is some of that in Edgewater, but since it is a smaller area, and also because it is getting popular, you're still going to have some challenges, but they're out there if you just stay persistent. So now that we've talked about that lifestyle benefit of Edgewater, when it comes to pricing and that long-term value play with Edgewater, what I love about it is the median sales price of homes right now, it's a bit lower than some of those surrounding areas. So you have the opportunity to find homes in the $650,000 to $900,000 mark, as opposed to places like Sloan Lake that might even be above $1 million. So you have opportunities, or at least options, that sometimes are getting quite hard to find in those other areas. So a little bit more availability when it comes to that, and a few more that might have that fixer-upper material if that's what you're looking for. Okay, and then before we move on to the second area that I want to share with you guys, we've already talked a little bit about the value or just the positioning within the area of Sloan Lake and Edgewater, as well as that long-term value that we're going to really see appreciate over time because of the surrounding area. Last but not least, we're talking a little bit more now just about the lifestyle. What I love about Edgewater, it's only about a 10 to 15 minute drive to downtown Denver if you are commuting for work, but also you're just about the same distance if you want to go west to some of my favorite areas like Applewood, Golden, and even parts of western Wheat Ridge, which is where I said earlier that I grew up, and I think that's also an awesome area. So lots of going on when it comes to lifestyle, as well as just the more kind of healthy, active lifestyle that Colorado oftentimes has that reputation for, that you may or may not be maybe getting a little frustrated with actually finding when you're starting to get out and search for areas around Denver. What I love about Edgewater is it does really embrace that because it's so close to Sloan Lake. I also love the views. When you're talking about lifestyle, it's not just about what's around you, but also sometimes just the feeling you get when you're in those areas. And what's so cool about Edgewater is you have two different views that are equally as awesome. Oftentimes when you're looking out west from Edgewater, you can actually see the Sloan Lake Park in the area of Sloan Lake, as well as the Denver city skyline behind that. Really unique and cool view. But you also have great views if you're looking out west when you're in Edgewater to see the mountains and just all of the great snow-capped peaks as you kind of progress yourself into the Rocky Mountains. So really good views, which just add that extra layer to being a great lifestyle. And to just close out this first of my two recommendations of Edgewater, I just want to throw this out there. I put this one on the list because it's a little bit more of that kind of blend of being really close to a lot of the urban attractions of Denver. This next area that I'm going to share with you guys is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit more heavy on the mountain, outdoor, active lifestyle. And maybe that fits you a little bit better, maybe not, but at least this way you have two that I think are equally awesome areas, but for a little bit different type of potentially a buyer. So this next one is also going to be on the western side of town, but this one is actually going to be in an area called Applewood. Now, the reason I put Applewood on the list is I also feel like this area has a ton of potential, not just in the near future, but especially in the long game. So as we now look at Applewood, talking through those same three characteristics, with the first one being that strategic positioning. And the reason I wanted to share this one with you guys is because of all of the exciting stuff that's happening right now in Applewood, specifically to the Lutheran Hospital redevelopment. You may have seen this featured in some of my other recent videos, and I'm including this in a lot of videos recently because I do really feel like this is going to be a huge improvement to the area, and really over the next 5 to 10 years, continue to bring in so many other new restaurants, just other amenities when it comes to making it a great place for people to live and have easy access to all kinds of cool stuff. We're already starting to see this. There's a lot of businesses already going in around the Lutheran Hospital redevelopment, brand new Lifetime Fitness that is massive, some really cool restaurants, bars. They're even creating a little district right next to the Lutheran Hospital in this area where it'll be like an open carry, kind of like in Las Vegas, where a few different restaurants, bars, they'll all be within an area that you can buy a beer at one place and then casually walk with it to another completely different restaurant across the street. So some very unique creative things that they're doing in this area that I think are really going to pay off in the long run. So from a strategic positioning standpoint, not only seeing all of this growth and new development going on, but also when you just look at it on a map, and as you can see on Google Maps, Applewood is located strategically in an area where you really don't have a ton of options when it comes to further growth. You have the mountains to the west. You have a lot of existing homes already completely developed out in that western side of Wheat Ridge. You don't have a whole lot in the northern area either with going into Arvada, and same thing with going a little bit south. You're very limited on where Applewood can continue to expand and grow. And because it's finite, this really does create a sense of supply and demand and makes that demand much higher and adds to the property value. So I think a strategic positioning, Applewood is one of the best places in all of Denver, in my opinion, and definitely why I always have had it as one of my top places that I would live if I was starting over today. Now, moving into that pricing positioning for Applewood, the reason I wanted to definitely put that on the list is because of the areas that are all around Applewood, specifically to the west in Golden. Golden is one of the most popular areas right now, and what I love about Golden is not only just the direct immediate access to the mountains, but also downtown Golden is awesome. So many cool restaurants, bars, lifestyle, just a lot going on, and that's because it's just over the years continued to get more and more investment into that area. Lots of people love that side of town, including myself. My parents actually used to live over there for several years, so I spent a lot of time visiting them after I was out of the house and in my college years. And man, I just love the Golden area, and having that directly next to Applewood is just another reason why Applewood is continuing to get more and more popular. Now, Applewood has a very unique style of homes, which also I think really does help with the value of the homes. And that's because they're on larger lots. A lot of them have great views because they are going up into the foothills. And it's just an area that is kind of a little bit secretive. You know, really not that many people know about it until they've already moved out here and lived here for a while. And I love that because it doesn't have nearly the traffic, the congestion. It's just an area that feels very peaceful, and man, I love it. So that's definitely why I wanted to kind of put it on the list for you guys too. So don't tell all your friends about it, but definitely one of my favorite spots in and around Denver. Then last but not least, just talking for a second about the lifestyle factor of Applewood. One of the things I love about this area is its direct access to the mountains, but also how convenient and easy it is also to get to downtown Denver and really the rest of Denver. You've got easy access to I-70, which will take you west up to the mountains, as well as taking you over into downtown Denver. But you also have Highway 6, which is another very efficient highway that not as many people use unless you live on that western side of town. So just another very easy access, just convenient way to get all throughout pretty much the entire city of Denver. So really, really good when it comes to that aspect of lifestyle, as well as just being in an area where the outdoors is literally in your backyard. Now, I've also done a few other videos about this in the past, where a lot of past buyers that I've worked with, as well as just people that I connect with on YouTube, maybe somebody like yourselves, where after they come out to Denver, they have a few regrets. And one of those being that they thought they would still get up to the mountains on a more regular basis. You know, let's just say as an example, you're working Monday to Friday, and after work at 5 p.m., you'd still like to get out for a hike. Well, if you live in areas like Applewood, this is super easy to do and without a doubt, very, very achievable. But if you maybe live out somewhere on the southeastern side of Denver, maybe in areas like Aurora, or maybe up north in areas like Thornton and Northglenn, if you still wanted to go out and enjoy a quick hike in the mountains, it's going to take you maybe up to an hour just to fight through traffic and get over to where you're trying to get to. So you're just able to really live a lifestyle of being at the foothills of the mountains when you live on the western side of town in places like Applewood, Golden, Wheat Ridge, and even that first location that I should also share with you guys with Edgewater. Even in Edgewater, since you are on the western side of town, that also still provides that ability to do so 7 days a week, no matter what's going on in your life. So I just love that about Applewood, and that's really the main reason why I would choose it as one of my top places in 2026. So with all that being said, let's close this video out. But before I do, I'd love just to kind of give you a little bit of a comparison. So if you're somebody that's really valuing that urban adjacency, so being close to a lot of the urban parts of Denver, as well as a big upside when it comes to property values increasing, Edgewater might be the right choice. However, if you're really focused on that outdoor, healthy, active lifestyle with the mountains directly out your back door and able to really enjoy them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, well, in this case, I think Applewood might be the best bet. But both of these are phenomenal choices in my opinion, and I know I'm not alone on this one. A lot of other people are also choosing areas like this as we move into 2026 and beyond, because so many more people are prioritizing and really placing a lot of value on those types of characteristics. Again, like livability, just the lifestyle that it provides, that long-term value and that appreciation opportunity in places like both Edgewater and Applewood. And then last but not least, just that strategic positioning. Being in an area in Denver that really does serve you the best for getting out and enjoying all that Denver has to offer, but also being convenient in a location where you're not going to be fighting traffic, and in an area that's not only going to be great in the short term, but also phenomenal in another 15 or 20 years into the future. So Hope you guys got some value out of this one today. Really quick before we close this one out, every single month I'm doing these live, free Denver Homebuyer Webinars. If you haven't been to one yet, I would love to give you guys a free seat. Just click the link in the show notes down below or just go to denverwebinar.com. This is another great way just to really get a better feel for what's going on right now in Denver. In these webinars, I provide a ton of just tips, value, just things that really are important in 2026 if home ownership is on your agenda. So hope to see you guys on that next webinar. But more than anything else, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And I love connecting with you guys, so please do. Until next week, I'll see you then on a brand new episode of Living in Denver.